finally, we've gotten a new FNAF game theory. And today I'm going to be reacting to it because it's game theory.
Let's join the bench. Don't care if I make a mess. Let's join the bench. It's what you say, I become obsessed.
Let's go.
You stupid ghost, thought you could get revenge on me? Do you know who I am? I'm William Afton. I always come back. I am Golden Bonnie.
I'm about to end this man's whole career.
That's amazing.
Hello, Internet. Welcome to Game Theory, the wet spring lock suit clamping down on your subscription feeds. And oh my gosh, guys, finally, after all that waiting, after being patient for so long, after all the delays, it has finally arrived. It is here, a brand new Freddy game just released where we finally get to go up against Vanny the Killer Bunny. Here it is, Security Breach. Furries Rage. Didn't know it had a subtitle. Apparently it's about an onslaught of angry furries on the attack. Oh wait, sorry. Misread that title. It's a Fury's Rage. Very important distinction there. Well, anyway, let's fire this puppy up.
Let's see if they're ready for Freddy.
I'm so good looking.
Not quite what I expected on multiple fronts. A game-long apology for all the delays with the real security breach.
They're gonna kill me. They're gonna kill me when they find out that I have to delay the game again. What am I gonna do?
It's
You know
okay,
that Scott's
Scott.
feeling a little guilty these days, huh? Also, apparently he sleeps in a fairy tale bed. Learned a lot about you with this one, Scott. Anyway, just because the official game is still TBD doesn't mean that there's any less to theorize about. We've got a new book, we've got secret bosses, and we've got a lot of pent-up theories behind the floodgates.
Also, this is apparently about Into the Pit.
So today, I'm doing another roundup of short FNAF theories. Some looking back to the past, some looking ahead towards the future, and some that are so out there that, well, you're gonna see when we get there. So open your minds, your hearts, and your hollow animatronic chest cavities reserved for the bodies of dead children, because I'm shoving theories in everywhere. Theory number one, we definitely play as Michael Afton in FNAF 3. In the newest Fazbear Fright book, Gumdrop Angel, released at the beginning of May, we as always have our three main horror novellas. The first is the title feature, Gumdrop
I think that was
Angel,
obvious that we play as Michael,
who
but
transforms into a giant gummy bear pinata thing that gets eaten alive by a swarm of saliva-mouthed kids at a Freddy's birthday party. Talk about your hygiene concerns. This one became a whole heck of a lot scarier reading it in the aftermath of a global pandemic. But as you might imagine, not a whole lot of lore to be found in a story about a sentient gummy bear. Our second story, Sergio's Lucky Day, is all about Balloon Boy, or should I say Lucky Boy, a doll who's wearing a propeller hat and holding both a balloon and a sign that says, "I'm a lucky boy." In this story, our main character Sergio finds the doll and ends up buying a lottery ticket because of his advice. The next day, Sergio finds that he won himself $600,000.
I won a lottery!
That's great.
It's a story that's a bit confusing because the
I remember
doll does
that.
seem to
Hold on.
What a lottery!
That's great.
It's a story that's a bit confusing because the doll does seem to offer good advice, encouraging Sergio to leave a job that he hates, leave a girlfriend that he hates, upgrade his life in small ways, all things that improve Sergio's existence. But as a result, Sergio becomes obsessed with the doll, asking it for advice,
and he kind
on
of goes bankrupt
everything,
too,
including how he can look good for his big high school reunion. Lucky Boy suddenly takes the chance to turn evil and tells him to remove his ears, scalp himself, cut off his eyelids, chisel his lips, trim his nose, and remove and reuse other body parts to become taller. As you might imagine, Sergio makes a big impression at the reunion. Again, not a whole lot to say here since it seems so tangential to the character from the games. I'm assuming that this is going to end up being connected to the upcoming Book 9 story, The Puppet Carver, but we're just going to have to wait and see. And just when you thought that this book wasn't going to deliver on any lore reveals, we get to our third story, What We Found, which is quite literally just a retelling of FNAF 3.
Pretty much,
this one starts to sound familiar. A night security guard working at Fazbear Fright.
That's what he thinks Hudson looks looks
themed
like,
around
wow.
the murders and disappearances happening at the Freddy Fazbear Pizzeria franchise, begins suffering from severe hallucinations the day the crew brings in a Springtrap suit found hidden in the walls of a different building. Hudson, our night guard, winds up trapped in a pizza oven and gets roasted to death
In a pizza
at the end of
oven,
his shift. It is really sad and also a really obvious parallel to the events of FNAF 3,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
But here's the thing, it also really feels like it's meant to confirm for us that Michael Afton is who we play as in FNAF 3. If you remember back to a couple years ago, I had a theory that Mike Afton is our player character in pretty much every game in the franchise.
I mean, I think
we
that's
see the
obvious.
name Mike on FNAF 1's
Yeah.
paycheck. We see the name Mike again on the monitor and sister location. In fact, the player's guide for that game, the Freddy Files, practically confirms that part of the theory. So that's Mike appearing in 2 games, but what about FNAF 2 and 3? The name Mike doesn't appear anywhere in either of them. Well, in FNAF 1, we know that Mike eventually gets fired for tampering with animatronics and his odor. Something that would happen if, you know, he was a rotting corpse walking around from restaurant to
That
restaurant
part,
to free the
not so
souls of
sure
the dead
about,
kids
but-
trapped in the suits put there by his father. So isn't it a little coincidental that Fritz Smith, our protagonist from FNAF 2, gets fired for the exact same reasons, tampering with the animatronics and odor?
Yeah.
It's also why Michael would keep getting attacked. We know from sister location that he looks just like his dear old daddy. And lastly, it's why Golden Freddy says it's me every time he appears. It's the brother's soul crying child trapped in the suit, recognizing and reaching out to his sibling Mike. But then, what about FNAF 3?
Shortly
When I first
before
presented the
torturing
theory,
him.
I thoughtfully omitted FNAF 3. It made
Maybe
sense
not
to me
shortly,
from
we
a
don't know.
narrative angle, but in terms of actual physical evidence, there wasn't a whole lot to point to outside of the hallucinations. Since the phantom animatronic jump scares in FNAF 3 were moments pulled from both FNAF 1 and 2, it implies that the person seeing them must have been present in both those locations. But
Yes,
beyond that, yeah, bupkiss. However, what we found may have just given us our missing piece. Our security guard Hudson in the story has a very tragic existence. His dad took his own life at an early age, and his mother got remarried to an abusive man named Lewis. And this guy is awful. Like, he is real bad. Eventually, we learn that Hudson seems to have burned his house down, killing this violent man in the process, and then repressing those memories. Fast forwarding back to the present day, as he's tormented by Springtrap, he hears his dad's voice coming from the suit. That,
He also hears his old teacher's voice, I think.
along with a former abusive teacher
Yeah,
named
yeah.
Mr. Adkin, or Mr. Adkin, depending on which page you're talking about. I'm looking
Or
at
Mr.
you, proofreaders.
Ashton.
You got some splaining to do. Anyway, Hudson kills his violent father in
Atkin,
a fire. A father whose
Ashton,
voice comes out
you
of
know.
Springtrap, along with another person associated with childhood trauma and with a name suspiciously close to Afton.
Yeah.
The security guard himself then dies in a fire in a tightly contained pizza oven. To me, it sounds a heck of a lot like the journey of Mike, who would also be responsible for burning his spring-trapped serial killer father to death at the end of FNAF 3 before he himself meets a fiery end in FNAF 6, also trapped inside of a
I didn't really
small
think
box.
about the
It's
burning
potentially
part,
confirmation
but that's
that I've been
definitely
waiting
true.
on for years. Or not.
I don't know why I
Who
didn't
knows?
think of that.
Speaking
I'm
of FNAF
dumb.
3, here's a small observation that didn't fit anywhere, but I wanted to call out. Know how we're pretty confident that Golden Freddy was possessed by 2 spirits, Crying Child
Some people hate that theory, say it has no evidence. I'll probably do a video on that at some point because, like, come on, man.
and Cassidy the Vengeful Spirit?
Yes.
Well, it seems like Scott may have been hinting at that since FNAF 3. I
Since
couldn't believe
FNAF
either, but
1
take a look.
even.
Here's a photo of the bad ending from that game. Notice how the mask in the background, Golden Freddy, has 2 lights on in its eyes instead of just 1 like all the others.
Oh,
Each light
yeah,
could be
that's
representative
true.
Of a spirit trapped in the suit. Shout out to Game Theorist subreddit user The Real Bruffi for that one. And
I didn't
while on
think
the
about
subject
that.
to Cassidy, theory number 2, Cassidy died in the ball pit. Recently, it was confirmed by Scott Cawthon on Reddit that the Fazbear Frights book series will end at number 11.
Yeah.
Random number, with the 12th mini book full of stories that didn't make the cut acting as a bonus. Gotta admit, it's a bit of a shame because this whole time I was hoping they would get 76 more out of this thing just so we could make a joke
That's
along
for its
the lines
87.
of, was that the right of 87? Anyway, it means that we're in the end game
That's
now.
perfect.
Specifically with the story
We're
of
in the
Detective
end
Larson and the Stitch Raid, the overarching
Jesus.
narrative that happens in the epilogue of each
Okay.
installment. And that's nothing to sneeze at, my friends. Is that idiom acceptable after 2020? Anyway, it's a big deal since this is the story that's historically had the biggest lore reveals. Most notably, the hints that led us to believe that Golden Freddy had 2 souls trapped inside of him instead of just 1. And with only 3
Oh, the new
epilogues
kid
left before
mode
the end of
is
the series,
better
this
evidence for
story
that.
needs to have itself a really big payoff. So when we last left our heroes,
Yeah,
they
it
had
really
just
does.
battled a 15-foot trash rabbit called the Afton Amalgamation. By
Yeah.
the end, Larson got infected with the glitch trap virus, and Jake, the remaining spirit inside the Stitch Raid, realized that he could use his, I don't know, his remnant powers to basically go into people's memories and make the good ones stronger in order to help them. Quote, maybe he could pull a memory out, a good one, and make it it bigger and brighter than the rest. If he could ease the man's pain. It was almost like blowing up a balloon. Only
I mean,
the
that didn't
balloon
happen
was a
in
memory,
Citrate
and
7.
the
It
air
happened in
was
8.
Jake's
Yeah.
will. It's about on par with the level of insanity you'd expect from FNAF in the year of
Yeah.
our lolbit 2021. And while that's certainly an interesting story detail, what I instead want to focus on is Larson's half of the plot. The detective
Okay.
who's been trying to piece together all the mysteries around Fazbear.
Yeah, Larson is a fellow FNAF theorist, okay? I don't care what anybody says, he is a fellow FNAF theorist, and I respect him for that.
Getting infected by the Afton virus has had
Yeah.
some weird side effects on him. Specifically, it's allowed him to hop between the memories of a bunch of Afton's victims.
Yeah, I think
He
maybe
was
the ball
getting
pit was part of
glimpses
Afton
the
or something. I
past.
don't
They
know.
were memories, but not his own. These images belonged
Or
to
like it
others
had
from
something to do
different
with him.
places and different times.
It
So
can't be
feels
part of
like
him 'cause it
this
still
is
exists,
the literary
yeah.
device that's going to allow the books to explain the missing children's incident. Larson is going to get clues via this memory hopping to either see for himself or get the clues to investigate what happened to Susie, Gabriel, Fritz, Jeremy, Charlie, and Cassidy. But then things
Okay.
start to take an unexpected turn. One final quote. As his mind swept him from one visit to the past to another, he always saw the same thing in between. He saw a ball pit. Oh boy, here we go, friends.
Of course.
Get ready, Shark. You about to be jumped. You see, despite all the craziness of the Fazbear Fright story, they've all roughly held to the same logic. Technology infects humans, endoskeletons become haunted, people can be replicated, but there was...
I'd say Into the Pit, when it first came out, was probably the most confusing. Then it got a little bit less confusing with Citrate 7, and now it's even more confusing again based on Citrate 9. Or not Citrate 7, I meant Citrate 8. But now with Citrate 9, I'm not going to spoil it, but it gets even more confusing again.
One
So, yeah.
that always stood out. For those of you who don't remember, the title story of the very first book was Into the Pit. The story of a time-traveling ball pit that allowed a boy named Oswald to go back to the past to visit the year 1985 and see the after effects of the missing children's incident. As he does this, he's chased down by Spring Bonnie disguised as his father. It was weird because time travel is always
to
weird,
everybody
but, you know,
else
we didn't
he's
think too much of it
described
at the
it. He's
time because it was a
disguised as
one-off
the father.
story in a collection of random one-off stories. But now, my friends, we're coming back to it. Of all the 24 stories that Fazbear Frights has had, this is the one that the big overarching narrative of the series suddenly deems important enough to come back to for some reason.
Yep.
The time travel ball pit. And that's not our only clue that this thing's important. Remember Security Breach, Furry's Rage? More like MatPat's Rage at this point, because not only does the game include a dabbing Chica, but it also features a secret boss battle if you complete hard mode. A secret boss battle against this, a slithering reference to FNAF 4's confusing lore. Chica without her beak, the 6 a.m. alarm clock face, the FNAF 4 locked box, what appears to be an IV bag in the back there. Basically, in this one sprite, we have Scott acknowledging that the real final boss of this whole damn series is figuring out what FNAF 4 was trying to tell us. It's also him poking fun at the FNAF 4 dream theory, considering the thing's name in the source code is Dreamgeist. But of all the stuff that's hidden inside of that head, there's a few random round objects that don't really fit anything from FNAF 4. Are they Easter eggs? Or maybe they're balls from a ball pit, considering that balls and ball pits have never once been important to this series. And in the level where you fight the Dreamgeist, we see screenshots from previous games, sister locations blueprints, a camera feed from FNAF 1, again implying some level of time travel, or spanning across time, because remember, Dream Theory came out before Sister Location was released, which makes that FNAF 5 blueprint reference really stand out here. Now, by no means am I saying that there's time travel in the games or anything like that, but the sudden reemergence of the ball pit in Fazbear Frights opens up a few interesting possibilities. One, that Cassidy died in the pit. Remember, the vengeful spirit has powers that go beyond all the other spirits, to the extent that it's able to trap Afton in a state between life and death. So if anyone or anything is gonna imbue a ball pit with time powers, Cassidy seems like the one to do it. And we know that someone did die in there because both In the Pit and the latest epilogue make a point about the pit's sticky balls. Get your mind out of the gutter there, people. Quote, he studied the plastic balls. The substance covering the plastic surface looked like blood. Old blood. And here I thought the worst thing that happened in a ball pit was getting pink eye. Fire up the golden Freddy in the ball pit thumbnail, boys. 2, that the series is gonna end with Larson and the Stitch Wraith using the ball pit to save the missing
This one can't... It kind of can't be true based on the next epilogue. Again, I'm not going to spoil it, but yeah, it's pretty interesting, and this kind of can't be true based on the summaries for the next epilogue that I've seen.
children
heard
from
about.
Afton and release their spirits. Why would I assume something like this? Well, giving Larson memory powers would be enough to tell the kid's story, let him see glimpses of their trauma, clues that lead him on an investigation. The ball pit, though, becomes necessary if the story plans on him physically interacting with those kids. So I wouldn't be surprised if the ending of this entire book series is unwinding the thread that started it all. The missing children,
Yeah, that's what
incident
Krakoa
kids are
said.
saved, which in the
And,
process undoes all of
I have a video coming out tomorrow where I'm talking to Krakoa and stuff about FNAF theories. There's spoilers in that video, by the way, but still, he talks about that. He says it's going to go back. It's going back in time. Like, it ends where it started. That's what he thinks, and I apparently MatPat thinks so too.
the other horrific stories that spin out from the Fazbear pizzerias. In the process, Scott retroactively gives all the sad stories from the Fazbear Fright series a happy ending. And finally, number 3, Detective Larson becomes Afton in what is a self-perpetuating time loop scenario. Oh, sure, you all laugh, and trust me, I think it's dumber than YouTuber boxing. But hear me out here. We have ourselves a character, Larson, infected by, as the book puts it, Afton's darkness. We also have ourselves a ball pit that allows him to go back in time for some reason that's going to be important.
He doesn't go back. He just sees somebody else's memories.
To the narrative.
That's
So
literally
what
said
if
in the story.
Larson winds up going back in time to investigate, only for the darkness to take over and turn him into William Afton, setting all the events of the story into motion. Who knows? Maybe we truly do exist.
That's
in the
actually an
darkest
interesting
timeline,
thought.
And Scott Cawthon gave the green light to a story that allows Afton to be a creation of his own future self. Tell you what, it would explain how Afton was able to create such futuristic advanced robotics when he was literally in the early 80s, because that's something that will never get explained. Like I said, that theory is real dumb, but you know, it is on the table. I wouldn't put it past this series. Time travel opens up all...
Larson being Spring Bonnie. That would be an interesting storyline. It's like he said, it's kind of weird. It's really out there, but yeah, that would be an interesting storyline. Just, again, I'm not sure about it though.
Sorts of dumb decisions, and time loops are real hot right now. And heck, we do see a lot of ball pits in that new trailer, one that comes complete with a day-night mechanic. Huh? Will I be right? Will I be wrong? We've got ourselves 3 more books and an indeterminate wait for security breach to arrive, so you can bet the theories are just gonna get more and more ridiculous until that day comes. So in the meantime, remember to actually listen to my dear friends Rhett and Link's new podcast, Ronstadt. If you like FNAF, then chances are you're gonna really dig their new project. It's a horror sci-fi comedy about a guy who sounds suspiciously like Rhett from Good Mythical Morning. He becomes a 911 call operator who has a sixth sense that allows him to solve supernatural mysteries while also helping people on the other end of the line.
This isn't relevant to the theory, but this is weird.
There's this thing, and it's after me.
Kind of like Ghostbusters meets Doctor Who. And even for me, a picky podcast connoisseur, it's really enjoyable. So check them out. I am super, super proud of the work that they're doing on that series. I want to give it a little bit more love because it's definitely worth your time. It's actually from the same people who make Markiplier's podcasts, which if you haven't listened to those are also really good. So just high quality audio content right into your ear holes across the board. Anyway, I dropped a link for them down in the description below. Go.
Maybe I'll check it out. But yeah, these theories are pretty interesting. The last one, yeah, it's pretty out there. But I kind of see parts of it as plausible. Cassidy dying in the ball pit kind of debunked, or not debunked, but kind of the evidence for it kind of doesn't make sense considering the next epilogue. And what was the first theory? That's... Oh, us playing as Mike in FNAF 3. Yeah, that's for sure. But yeah, I think the ball pit is supposed to... The ball pit being related to FNAF 4. I think that's trying to tell us that what the ball pit does, that's similar to what the FNAF 4 gameplay is. I think that's what that's trying to tell us. But yeah, I'm going to end the video there. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please leave a like on the video. And if you like my other videos, please do consider subscribing. I'll leave a link to the original video in the description. And yeah, I'll see you guys next video. ImpulseEvan out, and peace.